Dear followers, friends, viewers, do you really think to know the real life of St.Padre Pio from Pietrelcina? Yes, St.Padre Pio of San Giovanni Rotondo. Because there are many truths and secrets that had been hidden for many years, and many truths and secrets, even the last shocking revelations that, thanks to Pope Benedetto XVI, and finally with nowadays Pope Francesco, with the opening of the secret seal, and thanks to Father Gabriele Amorth, the Exorcist, who stated, "These are the secrets Padre Pio told me, but they can be revealed only after my death." And Father Gabriele Amorth died in 2016. So, it's possible to reveal you these shocking truths and secrets. And after a brief introduction, I will show you very, very rare videos and all the shocking truths and secrets finally revealed that few people know. And I can tell you this for sure because I grew up in Italy. I live in Italy by now, in Tuscany. And I always love St.Padre Pio. And I didn't know this. Absolutely. It's the truth. The whole life of St.Padre Pio has been hell on earth. Because every day he had to fight with the devil himself, and with his legions of demons who assault him every day and night with extremely violent attacks, with purpose to harm him and, above all, to kill him. Saint Father Pio really had an infernal life. In this full documentary dedicated to Saint Padre Pio, you will know and see. I immediately tell you the sum up, all the shocking videos, truths and secrets finally revealed that few people know. And I have the official documents. I tell you immediately, all the relationship, all the fights, all the most important facts of this relationship with Saint Padre Pio and the devil, really, it's not a legend. Padre Pio really confessed the devil himself, face by face. Padre Pio exorcisms. Padre Pio knew more about the whole uncut version of the Third Secret of Fatima and who the Antichrist is. Father Saint Padre Pio and Father Amorth their friendship lasting a life, because the first time they met was 1942. Padre Pio Prophecies. Padre Pio and something unexpected about JFK. Yeah, John Fitzgerald Kennedy. Padre Pio, supernatural, paranormal powers, the strongest powers given by God, Jesus, the Virgin Mary, and also thanks to his guardian angel. The mystery of the stigmata. I immediately start, so then I can pass directly to these shocking, extremely rare videos with shocking new and truths and secrets silenced and left untold or hidden after the Pope Benedicto the 16th, and above all the nowadays Pope Francesco, who opened this secret seal, and now we can know it. So I start. Brief biography you must know, and then there. Do you know the real name of Saint Padre Pio? Saint Padre Pio's real name was Francesco, exactly like Saint Francis of Assisi. Saint Francesco of Assisi, who spent the last times of his life in the sanctuary and convent Laverne, that it's not very far from my house. So with Pope Francesco they are a kind of trilogy, but Padre Pio was the stronger, maybe the stronger saint ever. His name was Francesco. So Francesco Forgione was born on May the 25th, 1887 in Pietrelcina, near to Benevento, into a land-owning family, and his parents were Grazio Maria Forgione and Maria Giuseppa di Nunzio. His family was very Catholic, so his mother decided to give him the name Francesco, just in honor of Saint Francesco of Assisi. And immediately, when Padre Pio was only 5 years old, wanted to enter the convent, saying, "I want to become a priest." And already when he was 14 years old, he did this request to enter the convent and to study and become a priest. In the beginning, this request was received with skepticism from the church, from the convent, but finally, in the fall of 1902, Padre Pio his request was accepted, And so the 1st of January 1903, after the Holy Communion, he had a vision. Because you must know that Padre Pio had many ecstasies, religious ecstasies, visions, and often he fell into these mystical trances and visions. So, in a vision, he saw that it was requested to him to fight the devil for his whole life. And then he had the vision of Jesus, the Virgin Mary, who reassured him, but they asked him if he was ready to spend his whole life fighting the devil, and Padre Pio accepted for sure. He took the name of Fra Padre Pio, and he entered the order of Capuchins, friars, and he took a vow, the vows, which are poverty, chastity, and obedience. Then he was immediately hit by a mysterious illness, and just in the beginning the devil saw that Padre Pio was really a threat for his diabolical fight to convert people to evil. So this mysterious illness was a chronic loss of appetite, and if he ate something, then he vomited everything. And I'm not kidding, there are official documents also by doctors who, even at that time, couldn't explain which illness exactly was eating Padre Pio. There weren't scientific explanations enough. And this is proved, there are official documents, that Padre Pio went at least a month without eating, and he survived. And he saved that he survived thanks to the daily Eucharisty. Father Padre Pio was hit every day and night by the demonic attacks. For example, when he went to bed, almost every night the devil went to visit Padre Pio in his cell, and he beat him in a very violent and atrocious way, with the purpose to kill him. And all the friars who had the cells near to the one of Padre Pio, but also the houses near to the convent of San Giovanni Rotondo, they couldn't fall asleep for the horrifying noises coming from the convent. So then, after 4 weeks, when he became officially priest, Padre Pio received the stigmata. And then I'll show you the specific crucifix. The stigmata. And these are called provisorial stigmata. And I explain you the reason why. Because when few saints had the honor, the blessing, let's call it the sign of being chosen by God, and so to have the stigmata like Jesus Christ, instead Padre Pio wasn't so happy at all, not for the extremely pain he suffered, but the stigmata, maybe because he was very young, he prayed God, please God, let my stigmata invisible, I don't want to have it. So these are called the provisorial stigmata, and every now and then appeared, even if they were called the invisible stigmata. Then Padre Pio decided to communicate only on September the 8th, 1911, in a letter sent to his spiritual father of San Marco in Lamis, that he had received the stigmata, and he felt, and these are the exact words by Father Pio, he always felt that then shame. But what the hell? Shame of what? So, Padre Pio was every day and night assaulted by the devil and his legions of demons. So, it was impossible to fall asleep at night, not only for Padre Pio, who presented hurtings, bruises. So, on December the 7th, 1911, the convent of San Giovanni Rotondo decided to make Padre Pio back to Pietrelcina, where he was born. And he stayed in Pietrelcina, of course, praying, dedicating his life. He said at least 3 rosaries a day, and then he went among the poor people, the sick people, dreaming of building what really he did, a hospital. A hospital is only thanks to Padre Pio I'm talking about San Giovanni Rotondo, near San Giovanni Rotondo. And he went money to poor people, he helped sick people. So he kept on is what all the friars and priests should do. And then on February the 17th, 1916, he came back to the convent of San Giovanni Rotondo, and he stated to live the flagellation of Christ every day. Above all, when he was celebrating masses, he stated that he felt that pain of the flagellation of Christ, and he felt the thorns of the thorns crown of Jesus Christ, carving, piercing his head, and it was a terrifying pain. And then on the 20th of September 1918, in San Giovanni Rotondo, finally Padre Pio received the permanent stigmata. They didn't go away anymore. This time they were permanent stigmata. And these stigmata weren't only in his hands, but also into his feet, and he had been also wounded in the side by a spear, like Jesus Christ on the cross. And it was really the symbol. It's one of the strongest gifts by God about sanctity. And think about that all the people, even doctors, who got close to Padre Pio, stated that stigmata didn't smell like blood, but they smelled like roses. So, and at the same time, he received this supernatural power by God, thanks to Jesus, the Virgin Mary, and also the help of his guardian angel. The power of location, or it's better to call it bilocation, because I guess that all of you who are fans of Padre Pio know what it means. But for all the people of the world, you don't know the real story of Padre Pio and what bilocation means. I immediately explain you briefly. Bilocation is the power to be in two places in the same moment, and there are thousands of witnesses. Above all, when Padre Pio was closed, he was jailed in the convent of San Giovanni Rotondo, and then he was at the house of one of his followers, and he confessed them, or they saw Padre Pio on the street, and instead Padre Pio was also seen in another place at the same time. So the power of bilocation, the power of levitation, and the power of clairvoyance, the power of prophecy. And he was also able, and is one of the few ones in the history of saints to have this incredible power, to read into the souls of people. So, not only normal people, but also people belonging to church. And when they tell you that he had a very difficult temperature, it was because of this. Because when people went to confess they could be followers, normal people, or people from the church. But Padre Pio was able to distinguish which people went to him to really confess their sins, because they really repented about their sins, and the people who went there just to say, I'm confessed, but with no, they faked the repent. Padre Pio didn't confess these people at all when he immediately read the souls of these followers, or even many people into the Catholic Church. He chased out them of the choir. Go away, you fake to repent, you don't cheat me. So, then, what happened? What happened? Padre Pio wasn't seen very well, not by the people, because think about that 8,000 hundreds, also millions of people came from all the parts of the world to see Padre Pio, to have the possibility to touch him, also hoping for a miracle, because Padre Pio was also doing many miracles, not explainable by the science, even by now. And so people coming from all the parts of the world. But he wasn't well seen by the Catholic Church itself, because he was able to read the souls of the people belonging to the Catholic Church, and also to see if there was an English person. So they were scared, not like the devil, but they were very scared about the extraordinary powers of Padre Pio. Padre Pio died at 2:30 p.m. on a Monday, on September the 23 in 1968. He was 81 years old. Think about that 100,000 people from all the parts of the world went to his funeral in 1968. And now, before showing you immediately the videos, I must read you something that you can't find in videos, really. Otherwise, I wouldn't stand still to tell you something that you can watch in videos, because it's very difficult to find, and thanks to people from church, I had these official documents. I'm talking about the entire discussion when Padre Pio confessed the devil. This is This is the official confession of the devil by Padre Pio, and then Padre Pio wrote all these particulars of the confession, and it's official because he wrote this confession. I immediately start. These are the exact words by Padre Pio. Of course, Padre Pio was speaking Italian, but it's the same. I start. morning, when I was confessing the man, a gentleman introduces to me. He was tall, slender, dressed with a certain refinement, with polite and kind manners, kneeling. This unknown man starts to disclose his sins that were of every kind against God, against the neighbor, against the moral. Each of ones were all aberrant. Then a thing hit me. For all the accusations, even after my reproof, done adducing as proofs the word of God, the magisterium of the church, the moral of saints, this enigmatic penitent rebutted all my words, justifying with extreme ability and highly sought after polite every kind of sin, emptying them of any malice, and attempting at the same time to make them normal, natural, humanly indifferent. All the sinful acts, and these not only for the sins that were creepy against God, Jesus, the Virgin Mary, the saints, who pointed with irreverent periphrases without ever naming them, but also for the sins that were morally so much dirty and crude to touch the bottom of the most disgusting cloaca. The answers that this enigmatic penitent gave time in time at my argumentations with skillful subtlety and with muffled malice impressed me very much. So I started to wonder to myself, who is he? Where does he from? From this world? Who is he? And I tried to fix him well in face, to read eventually something between the folds of his face, and at the same time I pricked my ears to each word he said, in a manner that no one of them should escape to overcome for their entire capacity. At a certain moment, for a vivid and refulgent inner light, I perceived clearly who was the kind of man, the entity who was in front of me. And with an imperative and decisive tone, I said out, say, Viva Jesus, Viva Maria. As soon I pronounced these very suave and very powerful names, Satan disappeared in an instant, in a flash of fire, leaving behind him an unbearable, unbreathable fetor. This is the official letter Padre Pio sent to Padre Tarcisio da Cervinara. It's I have the chills, really. And now I want to talk you about the exorcisms of Padre Pio, and then immediately I really promise you to be as fast as I can to make you watch all the videos. Really creepy, really shocking, and all the revelations. I want to tell you that there is the witness who also saw the devil disappeared in a flash of fire and down, like returning to hell. So it's there is name, surname, so it's for sure. And then I told you that Padre Pio was also able in doing exorcisms. Now I understand the close friendship with Father Amorth. And it's for sure that Padre Pio did 2 exorcisms, but they say there were more exorcisms. If many of you or some of you watched the Italian TV series of 2000 with a very great, magnificent Sergio Castellitto, the Italian actor Sergio Castellitto, who played the role of Padre Pio, the scene was made so perfect that you can think that the scene of the exorcism of Agnese you watch in that TV series was real, and it's not so, because there is not the video of the exorcism of Padre Pio. So that TV series has been faithful to the files given by the Vatican, but there is not the real Padre Pio and the real Agnese Salomoni. So I don't show you that exorcism. Father Amorth revealed not only the exorcism of Agnese Salomoni, who was from Firenze, Tuscany, but also another exorcism on a guy called Marcello. But I want to talk you about the exorcism of Agnese Salomoni. Agnese Salomoni was only 14 years. She was parishioner of Don Faustino Negrini, priest and old exorcist, director of the Sanctuary of Santa Maria della Stella in Concesio, where Pope Paolo VI was born. The exorcism took 13 years. Many exorcisms to be able to liberate completely Agnese when she was 27. And then I can tell you that I saw the real pictures of Agnese Salomoni. By now she is an old woman, And I can tell you that then she got married, and it's for sure that she had at least a daughter and a quiet and happy life. So, at that time, Don Faustino was desperate about Agnese Salomoni because she showed all the signs of demonic possession, like Linda Blair in The Exorcist, like Emily Rose, I'm not kidding. So, Don Faustino decided with her family to take her to San Giovanni Rotondo, living from Torbole Casaglia. But the trip was more difficult than expected because the car never had problems, but in that trip that car had many problems. But after a nightmare trip, they arrived at San Giovanni Rotondo to Padre Pio. The devil was really scared to Padre Pio. But when they arrived there, Don Faustino introduced Agnese to Padre Pio, and Padre Pio gave her only a blessing, and so she wasn't liberated, and it didn't happen anything. So the devil was really happy in the trip of return to Tuscany, and he felt triumphal. Without this time, the trip of return was without any itch, and the devil mocked Padre Pio as saying, "I won." Instead, in the end, after 13 years, Agnese was completely liberated by the devil, and Padre Pio defeated definitely the devil. So here we are in front of my personal computer. Only the first few videos are in Italian. The rest ones and the most important ones are all in English. But don't worry about these few videos in Italian, because I translate you simultaneously. So don't worry. I start.
Pochi santi hanno avuto
Few
modo di combattere
saints
corpo a corpo
have the chance to fight face by face, body against body with the devil himself.
ai suoi padri confessori, in cui raccontava delle lotte notturne contro i diavoli.
Padre Pio always told the other friars about the daily and night fights with the devil who assaulted him in his cell at night, and these assaults were also very, very violent. And also Padre Pio pointed the finger against the apostates into the church.
In modo particolare ci sono delle situazioni
And now I want you to translate you the letters written by St. Padre Pio, so that you can know everything. I immediately translate you and make you see.
Padre Pio, in proposito, in una sua lettera.
Finalmente lo vidi di fronte a me.
Father Pio, finally I saw the devil in front of me. He was horrifying. He was a huge black dog with fire
Qualcosa di
eyes.
inquietante in quegli occhi che mi fissavano.
There was something disquieting in his eyes, fixing me,
Intorno il grande, gelido silenzio ci avvolgeva.
and a frozen silence surrounded
Ma
us.
della realtà,
But it wasn't an aggressive dog, but the devil.
paura del demonio,
Uh,
non che non lo temesse,
And
non temesse i
the
suoi
devil
attacchi, ma lui
was
sapeva
scared to
di essere
death
più forte, non
about
più forte in quanto
Saint
povero uomo Padre Pio, ma più forte in quanto seguace
Padre
Gesù e
Pio,
sacerdote.
because
Perché
he
dobbiamo
was
ricordare
the
che per il capo del cielo non
strongest
esistono
ones,
il bene e
the
il male
only one
equivalenti, non sono mai
who
esistiti
was
dei principi.
able,
Esiste solo un bene
like
che è Dio, il
even
male, il diavolo, l'angelo che è decaduto, ma si muove entro i limiti che comunque sono
Archangel
stabiliti da
Saint
Dio.
Michael
E
to
dunque,
destroy
Padre Pio sapeva che
him.
in forza della sua fede, dell'ordinazione
His
sacerdotale,
faith
preghiera che
was
recitava,
too
della sua
strong,
vicinanza a
and
Dio,
his
il diavolo poteva
powers
attaccarlo,
were
tentare a
stronger. So the devil attacked
Ad un figlio spirituale che
Padre
diceva,
Pio
"Padre, alcune
every
persone negano
day.
l'esistenza del demonio." Padre Pio rispose,
And
"Ma
once
quando io
a
glielo dissi
follower
non ne dubitavo mai,
said
lo sentiva sempre
Saint
addosso,
Padre
mi percepiva
Pio,
l'odore,
I
un
don't
freddo.
believe
Tra la
in
fine del
devil.
1917
And
e il 1918,
Padre
il frate
Pio
di Cina prova
answered,
esperienze tanto
how
importanti da essere
can't
paragonate
you
alla discesa ai
don't
cimeri.
believe?
Ecco cosa racconta.
Why don't you believe in the devil? I see him every day and night. And now I pass on, making you read, making you know the next letter. As you may see, this is not the images I made you watch before. I mean the last ones were the rare videos, footage of the real Saint Padre Pio. In this case, you see a very great, a huge Italian actor, Sergio Castellitto, who played the role of Saint Padre Pio in the Italian series of 2000 of Padre Pio. Forgive me, because Padre Pio became officially saint in 2002. So I make you know what he wrote in this other letter sent to his spiritual father. I translate you, don't worry.
ancora una volta il Signore
Once again, Lord, expose me to the fire of Satan.
in tutte le ore.
He attacks me and never leaves me alone in every hour, day and night. That horrifying, ferox animal who is Satan.
Il diavolo si manifestava in maniera così forte nella vita di Padre Pio.
And this Vaticanist states that Padre Pio has been the only saint so much assaulted and violently attacked almost to death with the devil, even more than Saint Francis of Assisi, because Padre Pio had the power of conversion, an absolute faith, and he was the strongest one, the only one able to defeat Satan.
Talvolta con veri e propri assalti fisici per evitare che il frate
Satan did so violent attacks on his body, trying not only to harm him, but also to kill Padre Pio.
Un incontro segreto con questa bellezza di Dio scritta nel nostro cuore. La vera bellezza.
And now I make you see another icon.
Se come Padre Pio ti servi del dolore per liberarti.
Padre Pio had mystical vision in which he saw Jesus Christ, the Virgin Mary, and also his guardian angel, who asked him to sacrifice his whole life to fight the devil, to take this cross, and he accepted. These aggressions were so violent that Padre Pio risked his life, really. And also he accepted to bring this cross for his whole life, and Padre Pio was used to call the devil the ogre. And now this is another letter.
E mi picchiarono forte.
I'm very sad and scared because a legion of demons beat me so strong and insulted me with so many dirty and obscene sins, and they attacked me so violently that I was sure that I was really close to die. These words are the words written in the letters by Padre Pio himself. And now this one.
Di essersi fatto così lungamente aspettare.
And
testimonianze scritte e orali dalle quali si vede come
these are also written. There are several witnesses, not only friars, people in convent, and this fight was every day and night, and Padre Pio was really close to die. He was full of bruises and bloody attacks, because he was becoming stronger every day more in his pure faith, and the devil was scared to death by Padre Pio, because he was a friend of the strongest one, who is Jesus Christ.
Secondo i racconti del frate, gli gioca a scherzi di ogni tipo. Se la prende con lui, cerca di ostacolarlo, di mettergli i bastoni tra le ruote, cerca di seminare zizzania fra lui e i suoi direttori spirituali.
The devil starts to spread slanders about Padre Pio in the hope to set him off the religious life, because he was very afraid of St.Padre Pio. And there were also, as Madonna in the Third Secret of Fatima stated, there are many demons even into the Catholic Church. And now I immediately make you hear the witnesses about when the devil went to confess to Padre Pio. So this time, maybe the only one of the rare ones, the devil introduced himself as a gentleman and went to be confessed by Padre Pio.
Nella chiesa un sacerdote molto vicino a Padre Pio che disse che a un certo punto vide quest'uomo che era al confessionale di Padre Pio di colpo sprofondare e sparire dalla vista nel giro di pochi istanti, sprofondando per terra. Credo che sia uno dei racconti più inquietanti proprio della descrizione.
And here the absolute witness for people who don't believe for people who don't believe. Because there is also the name and surname of the priest who entered the convent and saw these men kneeling on the chair, who was confessing, who was there to be confessed by Padre Pio. And immediately when Padre Pio stated, "Say, Viva Jesus Christ, Viva Maria," the devil immediately, in an instant, disappeared in a flash of fire. And this priest was the witness of this extraordinary event, who immediately referred to the church, to the Capuchin friars, and so on. There is his name and surname. So what Padre Pio wrote about the devil went to confess to Padre Pio, when Padre Pio confessed the devil. It's all true, written, and until few years ago, it was still not a taboo topic, but of course it was better not to talk about it. It was, let's say, left in the most possible ways untold. And now look at this. Look at this. I immediately make you see Padre Pio when was very young, and his first meeting with the devil. Okay?
Questo combattimento tra il diavolo e Padre Pio,
this fight between Padre Pio and the devil started when he was only 10.
aperta la porta della sua celletta per
And then when he became a priest, when he opened his seal at the first light of dawn,
un enorme cane nero che lo
he saw this huge, horrifying black dog with red eyes. That beast was really huge, and he was immediately ready to attack me in a fierce way.
Più stremato, cadde a terra.
And I fell down.
La bestia era scomparsa.
The beast then, in a few seconds, disappeared. And it was very, very a thing that even the Capuchin friars near to Padre Pio seals heard these horrifying screams of roars, and they also saw for few seconds that horrifying supernatural dog with black dog so huge with red eyes, and it was more a beast. It wasn't even a normal aggressive dog. It was something definitely devilish. And now I make you immediately see this. I go.
E quindi superava questi momenti con la preghiera.
E il diavolo lo seguì anche.
Padre Pio prayed every day.
Perdendolo di vista, e per quasi 6 anni lo ha sottoposto a tutte le
And even if he prayed the rosary at least 3 times a day, the devil haunted Padre Pio day and night for even 6 years, day and night, without leaving him even breathe.
C'è una situazione particolare in cui questa vita di Padre Pio sembra diventare drammatica. Finalmente i superiori erano riusciti a farlo tornare in convento.
But then, thanks to the devil, he had the shameful accusations I told you before, when the part of the Catholic Church devoted to the devil because they were interested only in richness, money, materialism, and not to dedicate their own life in poverty, helping poor people, helping sick people, helping people forgotten by everybody, like homeless, and so on. So they didn't look at Padre Pio with a good eye, because Padre Pio was really saint, and he was following the gospel, but not the other ones. So the devil was very happy to have converted a great part of the Catholic Church to him. So then, as I told you before, they started to accuse Padre Pio to self-procurate stigmata, and it was impossible because even doctors weren't able to find a successful scientific explanation. But Padre Pio received all the kind of insults like impostor, hysterical, seriously mentally ill, psychopath, and all the worst slanders, until
Padre Pio si ammala e questa malattia diventa stranissima perché al mattino
Padre Pio, as I told you before, also had this mysterious illness, and he often fell down in mystical visions. Okay, and now Padre Pio, with all those shameful attacks by the church, not by the followers, the devil keeps on assaulting him to kill him. So you can see poor Padre Pio really hit by many years by this mysterious illness. He wasn't able to keep food. He vomited every day, and he was beaten violently every night. And nowadays, in the Catholic exorcism, it's also inserted the prayer of Padre Pio in the exorcism, the name of Padre Pio and his powerful prayer to defeat the devil. So when the devil hears the name, in the name of Jesus Christ, in the name of St.Padre Pio, it's the same. The devil is scared to death to hear the name Padre Pio, because he was really as strong as really the Archangel Michael, and even close to the power of Jesus Christ.
E come ogni eroe, anche Padre Pio muore con la sua arma in pugno.
And then Padre Pio did. This is the death of Father Pio, who did also, and then I will show you better several exorcisms in his life. And this is and then I will return on his death, because it's not so simple as they explain you. I want to deepen the death of Padre Pio, his last words, his prophecies about the future, about the hidden parts of the Third Secret of Fatima, his relationship with Father Amorth, and many and much more, even about John Fitzgerald Kennedy, and much more. So Padre Pio died in 1968 on September the 23rd. You have already seen Saint Father Pio in his coffin, and people were completely in tears. This is the day in which Pope Giovanni Paolo II in 2002 made Padre Pio Saint Padre Pio. And I'm close to cry, because I was alive that day when Padre Pio was declared officially a saint. And I can tell you that I also had the honor to see the Pope Giovanni Paolo II in 2000, and I was very, very close to him. And now he's saint too. And now the following videos are all in English. Now, don't worry, all the videos from now are all in English. I immediately start.
On Francesco Forgione, but the world would come to know him as Padre Pio. Francesco was the son of devout peasant farmers in the village of Petrolcina in southern Italy. His family attended Mass daily, prayed the Rosary each evening, and fasted 3 days a week. From a young age, he began preparing himself for an extraordinary life. By the time he was 5, Francesco had already decided to consecrate his life to God. He took on penances that most adults...
So, as I told you before, since he was 5, he wanted to become priest and to consecrate his life to God. And now I go on.
Reported that as a child he could see and have conversations with Jesus, Mary, and his guardian angel. It seemed to him such a normal state of affairs that he assumed others could do the same. But he saw other, less comforting visitors as well. Even when he was still young enough to sleep in a crib, he later recalled, after his mother turned off the lights and left him alone, he saw demons who made him scream in terror. At the age of 10, Francesco decided to become one of the Capuchins, a Franciscan order. But he had to receive some years of education before the order would receive him. After several years, he was able to complete the necessary study. A vision for the battle. On New Year's Day in 1903, when he was 15, Francesco was pondering his vocation, wondering whether he could make the necessary sacrifices to live such a life. Suddenly, his physical senses were suspended, and he received a vision within his mind. What he saw recalls the vision of St. Perpetua in the arena many centuries before. In the vision, Francesco beheld a majestic man of rare beauty, resplendent as the sun. The man took him by the hand and said, "Come with me, for you must fight a doughty warrior." Then he led him to a vast field where he saw a great multitude divided into 2 groups. On one side was a host of handsome men dressed in white. On the other were men whose faces were hideous and who were dressed in black. Between them was a large space where the giant appeared, dark and terrifying, so tall that his forehead seemed to touch the heavens. As the giant approached, the guide informed Francesco that this was the creature he would have to engage in combat. Francesco was terrified and nearly fainted. His guide helped support him with his arm, but Francesco begged to be spared such a contest because the giant's strength was much too great to be overcome. Nevertheless, the guide insisted that Francesco must fight the warrior. If he entered the contest in faith, the guide would remain with him and he would win. The reward for his victory would be a shining crown for his brow. Francesco is victorious. Francesco engaged the giant in combat. Though the struggle was fierce and his opponent ferocious, with the help of his guide, Francesco was victorious. Then his guide placed on the victor's head a crown of indescribable beauty. Suddenly, the guide withdrew the crown. He told Francesco that he would have an even more beautiful crown waiting for him if he would continue the fight against the giant. Though he had won this battle, the adversary would try again and again to overcome him. "Fight valiantly and do not doubt my aid," said the guide. "Keep your eyes wide open, for that mysterious personage will try to take you by surprise. Do not fear his formidable might, but remember what I have promised you, that I will always be close at hand and I will always help you, so that you will always succeed in conquering him." With the giant defeated, the host of hideous-looking men fled, cursing and screaming. The multitude of handsome men erupted into applause and praise for the beautiful youth who had assisted Francesco. Then the vision ended. The guide in the vision, of course, was Jesus Christ, and the adversary was the devil. As it had been with St. Perpetua, the spiritual combat portrayed was fierce, but the victory was assured. Yet, one difference was clear. Perpetua struggled.
Have you heard this extraordinary vision? And also, I hope you noticed the stunning beauty of those statues. Really, really, really. And now, I go on. Immediately go.
The novices' superiors sought medical advice to discover the cause of his ailments, but they could never agree on a diagnosis, and the problems continued.
Because, as I told you,
That his illness might be
Padre
God's punishment
Pio
for his
was
sins.
hit by a
But his
mysterious
spiritual director, the
illness.
Benedetto Nardella, reassured him, saying, "Your sufferings are not punishment, but rather ways of earning merit that the Lord is giving you, and the shadows that weigh on your soul are generated by the devil, who wants to harm you. The closer God draws to a soul, the more the enemy troubles him." Meanwhile, Pio's mystical experiences continued. He experienced apparitions and locutions from heavenly visitors, and he demonstrated spiritual gifts such as bilocation, levitation, and knowledge of hidden matters. He was also assaulted by demonic powers. His brother friars sometimes heard screams or roars coming from his room at night. One summer night, the young man had trouble sleeping because of the heat and humidity. He heard footsteps in the next room, as if a man were pacing back and forth. "He can't fall asleep," he thought. "I'll call him and we can at least chat for a while." St. Pio went to the window to call to his friend, but before he could open his mouth, he saw a huge black dog with an immense head and furious eyes, standing in the sill of the window of the room where he had heard the noises. Before he could react, the hideous dog jumped onto the roof and disappeared. The next day, St. Pio learned that the room was unoccupied. A perfect victim. Despite his health problems, which had inescapably made his studies more difficult, St. Pio was
now
ordained a priest.
I go on. Have you heard? It's very incredible. I immediately go on because Padre Pio was ordained priest. He became priest, and look what happened.
of 1910 at the age of 23. Holy cards were distributed to those who attended the ordination with the prayer the young man had written. With thee may I be for the world the way, the truth and the life, and through thee a holy priest, a perfect victim. 4 weeks after his ordination, St.Padre Pio received for the first time a form of the stigmata, the wounds of Christ appearing on his own body. After a short time, they became invisible, but he could still feel the pain. Our Lord was providing him a seal of his sacrifice as a victim's soul, a seal that would later become visible again. Meanwhile, Satan's assaults continued and intensified. The saint suffered especially from temptations to impurity, fears of unconfessed sins, and despair about his salvation. Nevertheless, our Lord provided consolations as well. The priest once wrote to his spiritual director, "All the ugly fantasies that the devil introduces to my mind vanish when I abandon myself to the arms of Jesus. I suffer immensely, but it is a grief that does me good." The young priest wrote as well of the inexplicable spiritual joy that
of
supported him in his
course,
trial.
Saint Padre Pio was saint, of course. Now, I keep on going on with the devil keep on assaulting Padre Pio.
Months later, Saint Padre Pio wrote in a letter, "The devil continues to wage war and doesn't show signs of giving up." A number of diabolical apparitions took place in the following months. The holy man wrote, "The ogre, as Saint Pio called the devil, won't admit defeat. He has appeared in almost every form. For the past few days, he has paid me visits along with some of his satellites armed with clubs and iron weapons, and, what is worse, in their own form as devils. I cannot tell you how many times he has thrown me out of bed and dragged me around the room. But never mind. Jesus, our dear mother, my little angel, Saint Joseph, and our Father Francis are almost always with me." Because of his ailments, Saint
This
Padre Pio
was
sent back
the official letter that Padre Pio wrote to his spiritual father, and not only. And now, are you ready to know all the shapes in which the devil introduced himself in disguise? I immediately go.
Satan attacked Saint Padre Pio under many forms and with many disguises, testing him with various temptations and assailing him with obscene insults. The enemy appeared to him as dancing, naked young girls, as a young friend of the monks, as a crucifix, as a spiritual father or provincial father of the monks, as Pope St. Pius X, as a guardian angel, as St. Francis of Assisi, and even as the Blessed Virgin. Once, Satan appeared accompanied by a whole army of demonic spirits. Another night, the demon pulled off his nightshirt so that they could beat him naked and leave him shivering in the cold. On yet another occasion, the saint was covered with spittle from the devil. The devil counterfeits
So
the
it's
saint's confession,
incredible.
sign that his mission on earth was accomplished. On September 23, 1968, Saint Padre Pio breathed his last after suffering a heart attack. As a fellow friar administered last rites, he died with these words on his lips: "Jesus, Mary, Jesus, Mary." His final battle was won, and his lord and his lady were coming to.
I want to add that then I will show you other videos, because you must know more informations about the end of his life and also how he died. There are many things to know, and I want to tell you that I cry every time I watch this, because this is a very, very rare photo of Padre Pio on the bed of his sealed. He had just died. He had just died few minutes ago. So it's a very rare and touching photo.
To take him home from the battlefield.
To go through, he will not find any. He suffered from physical illnesses and a phenomenon in which people feel a supernatural fire in their heart or on the side of their body, as if they were being pierced. Few saints have experienced these kinds of gifts, in which they experience some of the suffering that Christ endured. His battle against the devil was so real that he experienced direct attacks from the evil spirit. In addition, he had visible stigmata that accompanied him for about 50 years. And as if that were not enough, he was harassed, slandered and persecuted by some members of the same church that he served with such love. So if there is anyone who deserves a doctorate in spiritual warfare...
So this is the shame of, as I told you before, the shame of that part of the Catholic Church, not so spiritual and not so holy, because seduced by the devil, who started to slander in a shameful way the credibility of St.Padre Pio. I go on.
Us is the importance of our prayers said with faith on the spiritual plane. Padre Pio said that modern society does not pray, and that is why it is falling apart. Pray. Wait and don't worry. Worrying is futile. Our merciful Lord will hear your prayer. You should view prayer as a spiritual weapon. Padre Pio was concerned about the fact that Christians did not devote time to prayer, especially families where children did not see an example of prayer in their parents. Parents are directly responsible for the spirituality of their young children. Parents who ignore prayer open wide doors to evil in their families. At home, it is important for children to see the example of parents praying. They should become familiar with prayer from an early age. And those who lead an active prayer life should learn to trust God more so as not to fall into anxiety. The error of anxiety after prayer is used by the enemy to attack those Christians of little faith. Knowing that you have the power to call on the one true God who created heaven and earth with his word should fill you with confidence. Jesus is more powerful than all hell. Your first direct response and line of attack to any spiritual need is prayer. Remember that in heaven you have not only a Father, but also...
Okay.
Amorth of Satan in the bosom of the Church. Padre Pio warned Father Amorth of Satan in the bosom of the Church and told him what to do. The interview conducted by the journalist José Maria Zavala with the now deceased Roman exorcist Gabriel Amorth is becoming more and more topical. Reverend Amorth personally knew Padre Pio since he was 26 years old, and has talked to him often. Zavala interviewed Father Amorth in 2011, and did not publish the interview until the exorcist's death, when he published it in his book on Fatima. Here are some parts of the interview. Here are some parts of the interview. Forgive me for insisting on the Third Secret of Fatima. Did Padre Pio associate the secret with the loss of faith in the Church itself? Father Gabriele frowned and pulled out his chin. He looked hurt. Indeed, he said, one day Padre Pio said to me very sadly, "You know what, Gabriel? From the island he entered the very bosom of the Church, and in a short time he will begin his reign with the false Church." Oh my God! Some kind of Antichrist. When did he prophesy it to you? Probably around 1960, because I was already a priest at the time. Is that why Pope John the 23rd panicked so much about the revelation of the Third Secret of Fatima, that people would not think that he was some kind of anti-pope or something? A faint smile appeared on Father Amorth's face. Did Padre Pio tell you anything else about the coming disasters, earthquakes, floods, wars, epidemics, famines? Did he point to the same evils prophesied in the Bible? Such things were not important to him, no matter how terrible they turned out to be. He attached importance only to the great apostasy of the faith in the Church. This question really bothered him, and he prayed for it and showed much of his suffering. "Crucified for love," said Father Amorth. "The Third Secret of Fatima." That's right. Is there a way to avoid something so terrible, Father Gabriele? There is hope, but it is useless if it is not accompanied by deeds. Let us begin with the consecration of Russia to the Immaculate Heart of Mary. We pray the Holy Rosary, we pray and perform penance.
So before going to the worst, and for worst I mean the hardest and shocking real videos, for all the followers, believers of St.Padre Pio all over the world, and for people who are very curious to hear his saint voice, I show you these very, very rare videos with the real voice of Saint Padre Pio. I go.
Ed il comando è pieno di amore, è Lui stesso che ce lo infonde nel cuore, Lui stesso che ci dà i mezzi per poterlo amare, ma quello che è più sorprendente ci ha promesso anche il premio.
He's talking about the love God has for us.
Passeggera limitata, ma eterna quando è eterno Lui, e in mezzo quando è in mezzo Lui, è duratura per quanto dura Lui. La durazione e Dio dura sempre per tutta l'eternità. Con questo
God loves us, and
buon appetito a chi non ce l'ha.
So this was his blessing. He was used to say good night, have a good food, happy appetite, and so on. And now we pass to the most shocking videos and revelations.
Extraordinary and fascinating saints of modern times. Hailed as the saint of the new millennium, he's believed to be God's way of showing those who must see in order to believe that his existence is real. Arguably one of the most popular saints of all time, by the late 1960s, he was receiving 5,000 letters a month from believers. People came from all corners of the earth to not only be in his presence, but to confess their sins to him. He was considered to be blessed in mysterious ways. Not only did he bear the stigmata, but it was also reported that he had the ability to read souls, bilocate, and had gifts of prophecy, conversion, and could perform miracles. He was frequently referred to as the second St. Francis, the prophet of the people, and the holy man of the Gargano. During the Second Vatican Council, he was so frequently consulted by the Roman Catholic bishops that onlookers wondered whether the council was being held in Rome or in San Giovanni Rotondo, where Padre Pio resided. And
now I want to make you see something really related to the stigmata. I immediately go. I warn you, some scenes could disturb the sensitivity of the viewers.
I've seen them in the friary before. Padre Pio would listen to their stories and promise to pray for them. In August of 1918, he again began experiencing painful stigmata that would come and go over a period of several weeks. However, by September, they would become permanent and remain on his body for the next 50 years, disappearing only a few days before his death in September of 1968. Miraculously, his wounds never became infected, despite constantly bleeding this time. Not only that, he was said to have lost anywhere from a cup to a pint of blood every day. In September of 1918, he wrote to his spiritual advisor describing how the stigmata happened. On the morning of the 20th of last month, in the choir, after I had celebrated Mass, I yielded to a drowsiness similar to a sweet sleep. I was suddenly filled with a great peace and abandonment which effaced everything else and caused a lull in the turmoil. While this was taking place, I saw before me a mysterious person. His hands and feet and side were dripping blood. The sight terrified me, and what I felt at that moment is indescribable. I thought I should die, and really should have died, if the Lord had not intervened and strengthened my heart, which was about to burst out of my chest. The vision disappeared, and I became aware that my hands, feet, and side were dripping blood. Imagine the agony I experienced and continue to experience almost every day.
This is the place where Padre Pio received the stigmata on the 20th September 1918. From this letter here, you can see that Padre Pio was praying here when he saw this crucifix alive, dripping blood. And in that moment, Padre Pio felt an extraordinary peace inside of himself and outside.
In late 1918, word about the blessed priest stigmata began to spread throughout San Giovanni, and by early 1919, word was spreading to the outside world. Over the years, several physicians studied Padre Pio's stigmata. None could come to a consensus or provide a clear explanation. For about a year, the wounds were examined by Dr. Luigi Romanelli, chief physician of the City Hospital of Barletta.
Then the science never gave a scientific explanation of the stigmata.
In the 1920s, he was condemned by several priests as a fraud. Some psychologists even believed he suffered from mental instability and hysteria, and he definitely had enemies in Rome. On July 11, 1931, the Holy Office stripped him of all but one of his priestly abilities, being able to celebrate Holy Mass. He could do that as long as it was done in private and not publicly in a church. This would be the start of what Padre Pio would refer to as his 2-year imprisonment. Gone were the days of hearing confessions, celebrating Mass with the community, and attending prayer chapel. Instead, he started each morning with the rest of his brothers, then prepared for his private Mass. He celebrated the Eucharist with one other person, and then spent the rest of his day praying and studying church history and scriptures. This is when his followers began reporting that he visited them through bilocation, the ability to be in 2 places at once. A nun in Florence claimed that one morning after she had received communion, Padre Pio appeared to her, comforted her, and blessed her. Even though the beloved priest could no longer see, speak, or write to his followers, they still came to San Giovanni Rotondo by the busload to pray for his freedom, recite the rosary, and be near him. Letters were sent to the Vatican, requesting an end to Padre Pio's segregation. In early 1932, he was dealt another blow when a book called Padre Pio of Pietrelcina, Messenger of the Lord, was published without authorization. The book detailed accounts of his supernatural gifts, like his ability to bilocate, perform miracles, and read souls. The authors asserted that Padre Pio, without question, was the messenger of the Lord, something the Holy Office wasn't too happy about, likely resulting in Padre Pio's continued isolation. On March 14, 1933, Pope Pius XI sent 2 representatives to visit Padre Pio and report back to him their findings. If the bishops were expecting a hysterical madman, that's not what they got. Instead, they met with a humble, easygoing man who was pleasant to be around and had a great sense of humor. The men were impressed with his conduct and stated that Padre Pio was a man of prayer and entirely godly. 4 months after the bishop's visit, on July 14, 1933, Pope Pius reversed his ban, allowing Padre Pio to once again celebrate Mass in public and hear confessions from his religious comrades. The news spread like wildfire.
And then, thanks to the Pope Pio XI, step by step, Saint Padre Pio could return to celebrate masses on public, to confess his believers, and to have all the powers he had before those horrifying slanders. Are you ready about the revelation of St. Padre Pio about John Fitzgerald Kennedy, who was assassinated that damn November the 22nd, 1963? Ecco.
President John F. Kennedy was assassinated on November 22, 1963. He wept with the rest of the world. But when asked to pray for his salvation, Padre Pio said, "It's not necessary. He's already in paradise." As the priest's health weakened, demonic attacks seemed to bolster. Some of the young friars were assigned to watch over Padre Pio and help him. On several occasions, more than one of them witnessed the poor priest being thrown from his chair while praying by invisible forces. And Father Alessio, who now slept in the room next to Padre Pio, was regularly woken up by the old priest's cries of pain and terror. He frequently had bruises and signs of being beaten on his body. On July 5, 1964, a possessed woman was brought to the friary for an exorcism. Padre Pio, being too old and weak to attempt it by himself, enlisted the help of another priest. During the rite, the woman shouted in an unnatural voice,
"Pio, we'll see you tonight."
Sure enough, at 10 p.m., some of the friars heard crashing in Padre Pio's room. Upon investigating, they found the priest on the floor in a pool of blood. His face was red and swollen. He had a deep gash on his forehead and was bleeding from his nose. Nothing was moved or out of place except for a pillow that was under Pio's head. When Father Carmelo inquired about who put the pillow there, Padre Pio said, "The Madonna." The next day, when the exorcism began again, the possessed woman said,
"Last night, I was up to see the old man upstairs. I hate him so much because he's a fountain of faith. I would have done more, except the lady in white stopped me."
When Father Pius described Pio's injuries, he said his face was cut above the right eyebrow, his eyes were black, all black under the eyes. His shoulders were terribly bruised. When Padre Pio peered into the future, it brought him great sadness and horror. He saw people consumed by materialism and the destruction of family life. Father Pius remembered many of Padre Pio's prophecies about coming world events, but would say that it's best not to discuss them as they were too unsettling. By 1966, it was clear to Padre Pio that his life was drawing to a close.
Pray God, because the prophecies St. Padre Pio revealed before dying weren't so good. And now listen, in fact, what he reveals.
In July of 1968, with construction of his burial crypt still ongoing, he said, "When the tomb is finished, then I will die." At the time, nobody could realize that he was foreshadowing his own death. At 5 a.m. on the morning of September 22nd, he sang Holy Mass. Later that morning, his burial crypt was blessed. At 6 p.m., he gave his final blessing in the church, marking his official end in public ministry. The following day, on September 23, 1968, Father Carmelo administered the last rites, and at 2:30 in the morning, the beloved Padre Pio took his last breath at Our Lady of Grace in San Giovanni Rotondo.
I went to Padre Pio's cell about 8:30 or 9 p.m. and stayed with him for the rest of his time on earth. Occasionally, I wiped away his tears. Around midnight he said, "Sit down beside me, please," and he began to tremble like a child. He continually asked the time, as though he had an appointment to keep. At 1 a.m. he asked to make his confession and renewed his religious vows. At this he seemed a little better, got up, washed his face, and went to the window, asking if the sky was studded with stars. He looked 20 years younger all of a sudden.
I looked at my watch. It was 2:30. And Padre Pio was passing away. With no noise, without a sound, without any uproar, Padre Pio died in complete peace.
At 81 years old, he was well prepared and often stated, "My real mission will begin after my death." On September 26th, more than 100,000 people gathered in San Giovanni to pay their last respects. After an outdoor mass, Padre Pio's remains were placed in the crypt beneath the church. On June 16, 2002, Padre Pio was canonized by Pope John Paul II, officially becoming recognized as a saint in the eyes of the Catholic Church.
Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. See you soon. Saint Padre Pio bless you all.